Hi, everyone. My name is Jessica with fulfilledandabundant.com. Today, I want to share about manifesting when you're in a bad mood. I first learned about manifesting from Abraham Hicks and Neville Goddard. Neville Goddard is, I believe, he's one of the leaders in the New Thought movement. And Abraham Hicks, I love her. I think a lot of people have heard of her. But if you haven't, check her out on YouTube. She's wonderful. So there's a lot of people that think that you have to be in a good mood to be able to manifest the things that you do want. And I am here to share with you that you don't. So back up a little bit, we're actually all manifesting all the time. Whether we know it or not, whether you believe in manifesting or not, you are calling in your life and you're calling in the things that you are thinking about. So it's a lot more fun to call in and attract the good things that you do want. So let's focus on that today. So looking back, have actually manifested a ton from being in a bad mood. And how? There's been so many times that I've spent the night crying, and then the next day the thing I was crying about showed up, or the way I actually found my apartment that I lived in for a long time. I would tell people that I wanted, so I could afford almost nothing, and I wanted to live on my own in Marin, or San Francisco Bay Area. And I had moved to New York, and then I came back to Marin, and I decided I didn't want roommates anymore. And I was living with my mom, and being a little bit too old to live with my mom, I was not happy about it, and I really wanted to find my own place. And I decided that I wanted a studio, or to live on my own, with a balcony, with an entrance that nobody can see when I come and go. And I love plants, and I want it to look like I'm surrounded by a forest. And I want to be less than 30 minutes walking to downtown. My ideal was to live in Santa Fe. Next ideal would be like in Mill Valley area or Santa Rosa. And I liked Petaluma a lot too. So that was my list, my wish list. And I wanted it to be under $1,000. So a lot of times when I would tell people what I wanted, they would shoot me down immediately, or like, yeah, right, that doesn't exist. Or I would get looked at like I was a rich, spoiled brat, which I'm not. So that made me laugh a lot. Yeah, so one day I decided to drive around and just fantasize and pretend I lived in the neighborhood and decide exactly where I wanted to live. So I'm driving around downtown Santa Fe, and then I come across this neighborhood that is super cute and all these historic homes that for some reason I just didn't really know about before. And I drive up this hill, and then the hill kind of turns, and I turn around. I'm like, oh, I better turn around. I don't want to be rude, like driving into somebody's private driveway. So I turn around because I'm thinking that I'm in someone's private driveway, and I drive back down the hill. And then I go home, and I'm, whatever. Somehow I'm going to find it. And then the timeline of all this is kind of blurry because there was a lot going on. There always has been a lot going on in my life. So one day I'm on the airport or home. So I was a flight attendant. So I just finished my trip. So I'm waiting for the bus. I'm sitting on the bus going home. The airporter ride is about an hour, hour and a half. And a lot of times that's when I made my phone calls, or I did research. At the time I would look for apartments. sometimes online shop. So I was in an awful mood that night, and I just was like feeling hopeless and whatever. I don't know what else to do. I just have to try, even if I think it's going in the garbage. So I go onto Craigslist and I see something that fits my description and sounds pretty great. There were no pictures, which is a bad sign. But I was like, I have to try, whatever. So I replied to the ad and I said that I was a flight attendant, which is a big bonus for landlords. And they replied. I thought it was a scam because I was so used to seeing so many scams on Craigslist. And they replied. So I was like, oh my God, this is cool. So I made the appointment for the next day and I came to see the apartment. And I was like, oh, wow, I love it. And I had a talk with the landlord. And then I ended up moving in and I was thrilled and super happy. It was just what I wanted. And before I put all my furniture in, I would I would roll around on the big open space on the floor, just enjoying the space. Yeah, and then so probably a couple months later, I was walking around my neighborhood and I was walking back up my street. And then I realized, oh my God, I literally live on that street where I thought it was a private driveway. I drove up and I was like, wow, I wonder what it would be like to live here. And I was like, oh, I better not be rude. And so I turned around because I thought I was in a private driveway. I live on that street. So manifesting can happen from a bad mood. There's been so many other times that this happened. Working on the plane, I was in an awful mood that day, and any flight attendant knows that when you're in a bad mood, the day just gets worse, and that sucks because it's like people feed on your energy and want to pick fights with you. It's horrible. So I was in the galley behind the curtain and I was like, whatever. It is what it is. Throw it at me, world. So I kind of expected a horrible day because I was in a I was in a horrible mood. And to my surprise, when I had that like acceptance of, it is what it is, don't mess with me. Shockingly, I ended up having a pretty good day once the day was over and I looked back and people responded to me immediately, which I was shocked about. And so it's that key of acceptance. I think that's the trick. When you're in a bad mood, you can still manifest. It's just that acceptance of you're in a bad mood and it is what it is and it's okay. And I think that's why I have a tendency to manifest very often. What I want really bad will show up the next day after 3-hour crying session. I think because I cried everything out, and that letting go and the acceptance of it is what it is and this is where I'm at, and okay. And then and then the next day I have no expectation, no resistance, and literally the thing I wanted showed up. This has happened to me many times with the way that I've met the next relationship. He knows who he is. This is from when I was in college. I was in an awful mood. And this guy knows exactly who he is. So you're welcome for me telling a story about you. And I can feel I'm already getting red. He's a good friend now, and there's nothing there. But I was in a horrible mood. I was feeling hopeless about dating, and I think I was 20. Yeah. And it was Friday, and I I was sad that I had nothing going on. So I was living in San Diego and I decided to go to the beach and study at the beach because I had nothing else to do. And I was sad that I had nothing else to do. And I had just like laid my towel down. Like, I don't even think the ripple from laying it down completely had ended yet. And then this guy shows up right behind me and he's like, hey, I still can't believe this happened. He's like, hey, I just had to come talk to you. I have to leave, but I'm going to come back in an hour. Well, you'll still be here. I want to come back and talk to you. And I was like, oh, sure. So I was very flattered, but I just, because of my mood, I kind of just threw it out the window, whatever, he'll probably never come back. And then he did come back, to my surprise. And yeah, we talked for a couple hours. It was fun and did end up dating. It went well and eventually turned into only friends. And he's still a wonderful friend and you know who you are. And I would give you a giant hug. And yeah, that was a really amazing manifesting story, to be hit on in such a blatant way when I was in kind of a hopeless feeling place at the time. And how long is this video? Okay, well, I don't know how long this video is, so I hope you're enjoying my stories. But the point of all of this is it's very possible to manifest when you're in a bad mood, whether you're angry, annoyed, irritable, sad, depressed, in rage. You know, any of the emotions that generally we don't like. It's very, very possible to manifest from that place. The trick of it is the resistance. When you're fighting your mood and you're like, oh, I'm not supposed to feel like this. Like, don't let anybody see you're angry. Don't let anybody see that you're being a bee. It's that trying not to be that blocks the resistance. But when you just own how you're feeling and yeah, I'm angry and don't talk to me because your head might get ripped off. or I am sad and if you say one word to me, I might explode in tears. It, you know, wherever you are, it's okay. It's just when you're trying not to be that way, that's what blocks the things. But your desires are in you, whether you're conscious of it or not. They're in you. The core things that you want, they're there. The bigger house that you know exactly what it looks like with the giant windows and lives on that street, and or for, you know, your person to show up and you have your favorite meal cooked for you or take you out on an amazing date or any number, your perfect job, getting $100,000 raise, whatever you want. I'm coming up with superficial things, but you know, maybe your children behave amazingly. It's the owning how you're feeling and not trying to change it and accepting this is what it is today. This is how I'm feeling. All right. And then going from there. It's when you try to block it and try to, I can't let people see that I'm in a bad mood. That's when everything goes wrong. That's when you get all the red lights. That's when you run late. That's when someone nicks your car. That's when you lose your keys. That's when your child gets sick or behaves horribly, or that's when you get in a fight with someone in your family or your person. It's when you're trying to hide it or suppress it that it creates all the things you don't want. But when you just own it, and it is what it is, you can still manifest. So I hope this inspires you to be brave enough to be vulnerable to the truth of your emotions in whatever moment, and to find a healthy outlet for it. You know, if you're in rage, please don't hurt people. Please go find something that is the right outlet for you, whether it's going for a run or going to a shooting range or going to a boxing match. When I was a lot younger, I did have a lot of rage, and I was really into very aggressive workouts, especially boxing and kickboxing. So I did those, and CrossFit. I was really into CrossFit for a while. And all of those intense sports really helped me with my rage that I had until I finally processed it. So I hope this inspires you, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.